Buenas, buenas. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to episode 3 of Café con Fuego podcast. I'm here with my lovely co-hosts, Karolina, Miss Kaviar.
Dion, darling.
Yes, baby.
Daughter of the legendary Athena Dion, Miami's queen, babe.
Yes.
Yes, I love my
it.
house, all my girls, my family.
So, thank you guys for joining in, by the way. We have been reading all the comments.
Yes, we promise.
We're going to work on it. It's just that we are the type of girls that we just talk, and sometimes even though we might talk over each other, we still hear each other. Like we can hear and speak at the same time. We're multitasking queens.
Yeah, we are.
But we're gonna try our best to give a little pause in between so that you guys at home can understand what we're saying and you can hear the points that we're trying to make, because today is a very, very important episode. We are talking all about religion, spirituality, and the queer community and what it means to us, our own view. And we hope that you can like, comment, subscribe, repost, and join in on the conversation.
Definitely.
So
it's a lot to unpack today.
Yes.
I'm gonna be honest with you, full Candice, like I'm gonna be fully candid. Like I am a little bit nervous because I think that this is like such a like touchy subject for not just people in our community, but also by and large, like from just like conservative Christians and stuff like that. Religion is such a broad like subject to talk about. That's why I feel a little bit, those are 3 things I learned like in business school. You don't talk about politics, religion, or sex.
Or money.
Or money, yes. Yeah. So like it's one of those things where like I'm excited. We're
gonna talk about it today. So I'm curious to know, you are from here in Miami.
I am, yeah.
And I want to know, maybe we can start by talking about our upbringing, growing up. What were some of your religious views? Were you religious? Was your family religious? Maybe we'll start with that.
Okay, so I was born here, Cuban parents. So already just with that off the bat, like I was born in Hialeah, Palmetto General. So like my family, I would say we were Catholic, but definitely there was also a lot of like Santeria, like you know, like Ifa, like Yoruba, like influence to it. So like there was a lot of like that. Like I saw a lot of that. There were members of my family that were like that did practice that were like priests or priestesses in the religion. Wow. Or stuff like that. And then there were people who were Catholic, and then there were some that were just like you know, la cruz limpia.
Yeah.
Christian, la cruz limpia, that's it, nothing else.
Also, your different parts of your family have different religions.
Yeah. So
because
like
Santeria is a religion.
It is, it originates like, okay, for the people that don't know necessarily what that is, I find like there's a lot of like miscommunication, or like not miscommunication, misinformation, I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. Like it's not...
It's demonized.
It is demonized. But I've seen a lot of like beautiful miracles. Like I do find like for me, being exposed to so many different like religious views, like growing up, like what I kind of like now at 28, like the conclusion I've been able to draw is there's many avenues to get to the same avatar. You know, like there's many different ways to get to God. Mm-hmm. And like God has a different name for everyone. You know what I'm saying? So like for me, you know, like definitely like now growing up, like where I'm at now, as far as like what my religious views are, if that's what you're like, I think you were trying to ask me.
I wanted to know first.
Yeah, okay,
how you grew up. So you grew up with access to all of these different things.
We almost went off on a tangent.
No, that's okay.
We're good,
no, because we'll get into that right after.
Yeah,
but I just want to know first, like, what you were exposed to as a child. So it was Catholicism.
Yeah, Ifa, because that's the proper, like, Santeria is like, you know, like spelled like Ifa. And Christianity, just like those were the 3. And so like I had like one cousin, she was Buddhist, which was like really interesting too. So like I saw a lot of different like religions growing up. So like I was very exposed to all of that. Like spirituality means a lot of different things for me.
So I was raised Catholic, super Catholic, baptized as a baby. Yeah. And it was pretty cut and dry. It was like church on Sunday. I was a believer from the first time I was exposed to the stories in the Bible. Like I don't know what it was, just about the story of Jesus and how he was crucified. And, you know, for some reason as a kid, like it meant so much to me because there was parts of myself that I felt like I would be crucified for. So in a way, like just the story of, you know, like being someone that was probably going to be hated or misunderstood and stuff, like it just stood out to me since I was very young. And I always kind of felt like the presence of God with me. Like it kind of felt like there was like a light over my head, or like I'm in this like bubble of protection, you know. And it comes from, you know, going to Catholic school and making my first communion. Like I did all of that, right? And my parents really never talked much about religion per se. Like it's not something that was forced. I was just curious. I just thought it was really fascinating, you know, everything that I learned. I was so taken by it. And that was pretty much it. I really didn't even know there were other religions in the world. I had no clue until I was much older, when I was exposed to, like, I saw a Muslim person for the first time and seeing them on TV. I'm like, what is that? Like I wasn't sure what anything was in it. And then I started to explore it as I got older. So what do you gravitate towards now in your life?
Okay. Like, you know, before we could, like, on the way over here, like we were talking about as far as like what things we were going to talk about, boundaries and stuff like that. Yeah. I think like to kind of like just like, I do want to apologize to like the Carrera clan, baby, because my back is still healing from the lashings, babe. Girl, the doll's been rubbing Neosport every night, baby. They do not want me to talk over you. So like, I do want to apologize on that. I think it's just like for like, you girls don't know. I mean, like I definitely came out like out of nowhere. Like our dynamic, I think like why we were just talking about this, like our dynamic kind of like we cut each other off, like gives like a lot of that like mother-daughter like energy. Like outside of this, like we have like such a very wholesome relationship. So like it's that's just how we are. So it's a lot of times I forget the cameras are even on and it's just me and you in your living room, like, you know what I'm saying, or on the phone. Like, so it's kind of like, so, but with that being said, like to answer the question, I feel right now, believe it or not, I was having this conversation with my man last night where I was baptized Catholic. Oh, okay. Yeah, when I was a kid. I didn't do like the whole communion thing and all of that. So like, as far as that goes, like, but now at this point, like I do, in my younger years, like earlier on in my 20s, like yo tengo ocho santo.
Ah, like, what's so that? Like, walk me through that.
I've been I am initiated into Santeria, like into like the Yoruba, like faith. Like there was like, when I was 21, when I was 20 years old, there was like my like 19 to 20 to 21, throughout like searching for that and all of that. Like I like, that's what I saw growing up. And
So was it like your parents wanted you to take that route?
No, it's just like me. That's what I saw. And I saw so many beautiful miracles like in the religion. Yeah. There was this one of my godmother's goddaughters, like, cause it's like like for those that don't know, like, okay, like you have like, let's say for now, like, okay, like I have like, now that I'm initiated, I'm a priestess of Ochun. So now let's say like if Carmen was to come and want to get initiated into the religion, we would like do like through an oracle, like a divination, you would get like your mano rula, and we would find out who like your guardian angel would be, as far as like which deity is to claim like your head, like, you know, like your head, like that. Don't think it's like like who you're a child of, like that's like your energy, cause that type. So like I went through all of that, and I went through that Mesa Santo, like every, like, you know, little Cuban girl for the most part.
You have to wear white and all that.
Yeah, I have to wear white for a whole year. I mean, Aja the Queen, like one of like the people that like know about Drag Race and stuff, like I think she's talked about it and stuff like that. Like it's very similar. Like we're both the childs of the same deity. We're both children of Ochun. But the older I've gotten, like my relationship like to God, I would say now, if anything, like I've left all of that really behind for the most part. Like I still have like the little saints and stuff like that. I haven't like made the decision as far as like to I don't want to say get rid of it, but I don't feel like, to answer your question the best way I can, I'm already now at the point where I want to get baptized Christian. And I do want to kind of let go of that, because that was a big part of, like we talked about the last episode, of Michael's journey. You know what I'm saying? So like that kind of like got me to where I am now here, as far as like faith goes and spirituality goes, to where I don't necessarily, like, it doesn't resonate with my spirit the same way. Like, whereas, like, going to, like, creating and cultivating a relationship with God and getting questions asked, like, by him, like, through dreams, like, through just, like, my own personal relationship with him, like, has, like, shown that he is real. And it's kind of like, for me, it's like, I've always, like, saw, like, you have to do, like, this little trabajito, or you have to do this to get this, or all of this, where it's like, I'd want to go to the person that created me.
To the source.
I
kind of feel the same way. And we had this conversation.
So, like, I hadn't told you, like, I wanted to save it for this. Like, that was something about me that I hadn't told you. Like, that's where I'm at now. Where, like, going through all of these saints, going through all of these things. Like, I was Catholic. You could pray to San Alejo to pray away, like, envy or whatever. Like, I'd rather just go straight to Jesus, like, go straight to God. Like, that's why originally that's from what I've like my text of from what I've studied. That's the reason why, like, Jesus was like that's the reason he died for our sins. That's Jesus the whole point why he came, so that way you don't have to go through all of that. Because before, like, sacrifice and all of these things was something that was done, and then after the death of Jesus, that's what washed away all of that. So now you have more of, like, a direct communication to God. You know, at least that's how I feel. Like, I mean, don't quote me. No, I definitely don't have a theology degree. It's just my relationship with, like,
I feel the same
with our Creator.
Way. Like, I feel the same way. So basically, like I said, I grew up super Catholic. We'd go to church every Sunday, but it felt more like just because we kind of, like, had to. You know, I was very invested in, like, the story of Jesus, and just, you know, of having a connection to God. And so when I was on Drag Race, when I started being in the club scene and stuff, I kind of lost that connection. I kind of walked away, right? Because I was so involved in my life. And yes, I knew that I loved Jesus. Yes, I knew I was a believer and all of these things, but you know, it wasn't until my separation and my divorce, it was when I started to, like, question everything, because I felt like everything was going wrong in my life. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, I don't have this relationship no more. I'm not connected to my community anymore, because now everybody at the time was like, oh, she's too famous. And so I just found myself having a bit of a identity crisis, you know, and I first started with energy. It was like, at the time on the internet, was all about energy and, like, frequencies, right? And so I was listening to, like, a lot of frequencies, like, you know, for this and for that and for abundance and for healing and for this. So started with that. Then I went to veganism, and they were like, you know, being vegan, you were going to have a stronger spirit. And, you know, you're going to be able to manifest. And it was manifestation. And learning about The Secret. It was when The Secret was really big. And it was like, you know, you have to believe that something is yours. And with enough energy, you can make it manifest, you know. And I was like, okay, cool. And a lot of these things did work temporarily, right? But I always kept finding myself like, okay, got that, learned that lesson, but what's next? Like, I need more. Like, something, you know, I still don't feel like I have God in my life. Like, I felt like I have a lot of what my ego wants me to have, which is like money in my pocket, you know, the experiences, happiness, joy per se. But I felt like it doesn't feel the same way when I was a kid, you know? So I'm like, you know, so let me keep going. So then I went to Reiki healing, and then I went to crystals, and then it was, you know, finding random palm readers, you know, and random, like, people telling me like what, you know, I felt like I needed to know. And then after that, it was like, okay, well, you know, what is next? Like, then I was like, let me learn, like, what's the Quran, you know, like what? So I kind of went to everything else before going back to Jesus, which is what made sense to me as a kid. And yeah, I just want to preface this, like, this is our journey. This is what we've been through. This is not like, I'm not trying to influence anyone to believe what works for you. That's totally fine.
Definitely.
But it just brought me back to, now it was COVID time, right? And COVID, we're on lockdown. And I felt like, I was like, dude, what is going to happen? Like, are we all going to die? Like, are the aliens going to come? I think we still kind of like contemplate, like, are the aliens coming? Like, still to this day, you know, but I remember just coming to terms with the fact that I was trying to force something to happen in my life that just wasn't there. Like, there would be no need to focus on positive vibes if the vibes were positive, right? So something else has got to change. Like, it can't be me trying to force and do all these works, right, in order to like have the peace and joy that we all should have as a birthright. And so that's when I started following a lot of Christian TikTokers, and they were talking about a lot of the things that I was talking about or thinking about, and I was like, okay, this resonates with me. And I'm like, let me crack open that Bible and let me just start, finally reading it, because I knew it existed, but it was like such a long book. And I'm like, how am I ever going to get through reading this book? Like, I have the attention span of like, a baby sometimes, like 3 to 4 second attention span. And so it was COVID and everyone was on lockdown, and I was trying to find my reason for existing and, contemplating like, okay, did I make any wrong moves? Like, did I piss God off by like, maybe it was me transitioning? Like, did I,
I went through that too.
And, I learned that, I can't go back, I can't, there was a part of me that understood that getting bottom surgery, it for me, again, I don't want to give anyone a complex, but for me, I felt like I cut myself off from creation, and I really took that really to the heart. Like, it really affected me in a lot of ways. And I needed to sort of find my way back, and be grateful for all of the blessings that I have had, and, really get out of my mind and stop trying to force this experience and just let it flow and tap back into what my destiny really is, regardless of what gender I am or what I present or what words I use to describe myself or whatever, what have you. It's like, I'm still, I'm still a spirit having a human experience, right? And so how do I connect back to the source of creation? How do I connect back to what it felt like to be jovial, to be a child again, where none of these things really mattered, where the opinions of other people didn't matter, where the success in my life didn't matter. The only thing that mattered is what was right in front of me and having people that love me and being close to my family. So that's when I like went back to my family, really started to strengthen the bond with my mom, my sister, like, and understanding that, I might have deviated a little bit off the path, but it's never too late, to come back to what really has always mattered for me. And so I'm in a place now where I feel like super duper Christian, and there's even a part in the Bible, and this is my kind of bone that I have to pick with Christians a little bit. It's the translation from Greek to, from Aramaic to Hebrew to Greek to Latin to then English, right? So I had to go through several translations. When it speaks about homosexuality, I believe the original text was speaking to pedophiles. And, I really believe that there's like a mistranslation, because I know for a fact that since I came out of my mother's womb, regardless of if I'm trans or not, or male bodied or whatever, what have you, I knew for a fact that I was attracted to boys, men, and that's something that I've known as a kid. And I've never, ever felt like God was not a part of that creation. And, whether or not it was my free will to change my body, I always wanted to be in alignment with, if I would have been born female, what would I look like in respect to my creator, in respect to how God has made women. It's like, I wanted to be in alignment with that. I didn't want to deviate too much from that.
Right.
Yeah. And so that's why it's not the fact that I want to be pretty or passable or whatever. It's a much deeper spiritual reason as to why I invested so much into the way that I look. Genetics will make you pretty. Surgery can make you pretty, but it's always the intention and the reason behind it as to why, why. And for me, it was always like that. It was like, well, I believe in God, and I believe God definitely made male and female, and there's certain ways that men and women present. And I just wanted my transition to reflect that. And if that is my only sin in this life, then I will take responsibility. And if I'm ever in front of the creator, when that day comes, because it's going to come for all of us, that we are face to face, and I will repent if that's what it comes down to. Because I know for a fact that I'm not bigger than God. I don't, ever put myself above my creator. And, you know, I have a lot of love and respect for the fact that, that I was even born, girl. Like out of all the millions of sperm cells, I was the one that made it through. We were the ones that made it through.
Yeah.
That's a miracle in and of itself, you know? And so I'm grateful to just be alive, and I'm not, my ego is not so big that I would ever be like, I deserve to be how I want to live. Like if I'm wrong, I'll be like, okay, I was wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I will admit that. But I feel okay with that now.
I'm listening to you. Like, I feel like, see, this is goes, okay. God's plan is so beautiful and so perfect. Listening to you, it resonated so much with my own journey. Like where like you started like getting closer to like your faith and your religion a little later. Like all of these questions, like I was asking myself like throughout like 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, like I explored through all of that, like through Reiki, through crystals, I studied a lot of different things, like all of that, now to where I got to where now the reason why I feel so ready to kind of let all of that go and like embrace, like fully like embrace like Christianity a little bit more and dive a little bit deeper into that as far as like to keep cultivating my relationship with God is because of the simple fact that I always felt, for me, a big thing that like safety was like a big thing for me. Like where I grew up for the most part really alone. Like my mom, like, you know, had her own, like my mom had her, like my mom's a schizophrenic. So like I got taken away from her, from the state when I was 10. So like I was about to be put into like the foster system, and then my dad was able to come pick me up. So I moved in with my dad at 10. I was with him through all of that. And then my dad is like, has a very, for people who know about like attachment styles and stuff like that, like he's very like avoidant. So like my dad doesn't really have like, you know, like he's not really good at like communicating feelings and stuff like that. And then he raised me along with my stepmom. He was out working a lot. So he definitely like would leave me with her. She was very abusive. So like it's things like that, yeah. So that's why I come off like so aggressive and I'm so tough, because like I've learned throughout like throughout my life that if I don't protect myself, no one else will. So like that's why like I think like I come off like maybe aggressive or a little bit more. And like for me, like when I drive in these points on like the certain issues, like as far as like the trans experience, like the main reason why I'm so tough and I'm so aggressive and I'm so passionate is because it's coming from a place of I want to protect that little girl. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to protect that kid. Like I want to protect that person, because of like, I don't want you to experience what I went through, or I know the ugly in the world because I've seen it at a very young age. So like I've had to grow up really, really fast. So it's things like that where like it comes from that place. Like just like if I can prevent you from like, if I can prevent you from going through something, I'll jump. Like I'm super protective of the people that I love, because I grew, like for the most part, I'm alone. Like I'm okay with that and I love it. But cultivating my relationship with God has helped me heal that safety wound. You know what I'm saying? Where like, I always felt like I had to look over my shoulder, like if someone's gonna come for me, like who's coming for me, like what? And when I started realizing that it wasn't, like I thought that it was manifesting as, oh, maybe I'm not possible enough, or I'm not far enough in my transition enough, or is this, or is that. But I had to really sit there and ask myself, like, where's this coming from? And it was like doing all the work of like healing that little kid, and then getting back to building that connection with God again, where I was like, you know what, like someone, like what you said, when you said that there were so many things in your life that you were doing and it just wasn't working. The same thing was happening for me too. And then it got to a point where I had my last, like, where I felt like I really hit rock bottom. Like I couldn't anymore. I was in a really dark place. And I was like, you know, that was like my come to Jesus moment, where I was like, you know what, God, I surrender.
Yeah.
I surrender. And then I'm like, I give you, I allow, like I create, like I want to create space for you in my heart. And I want to give you all of this. Like I'm trying not to cry.
Aww.
Yeah, baby. It's like, it's more of one of those things where I'm like, I can't anymore.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't, like, I'm like, I know I'm really, really tough. And I come off like, you know, like, but in the inside, it's like coming from a place of just wanting to feel, thank you, baby. It's coming from a place of just like wanting to protect that little kid, because no one did. So like, I'm getting closer to God. I feel so safe in my skin. I feel so safe around me. Like when things like happened before, I used to get all like, I would get so scared, where now I'm like, okay, like this is just making room for something, for the prayer that I asked for, or stuff like that. I was really big into like angel numbers and crystals.
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember that.
And like zodiac signs and astrology and all of these things and horoscopes, and always like trying to, and it wasn't coming from a place, it was coming more so from a place of control. Yeah. Because like if I can foreshadow what's coming, like when you were saying about like going to psychics and stuff like that, and like reading tarot, I studied tarot. I used to do the readings for myself and all of these things, because I wanted control, because I was so scared
of getting hurt
or not being safe, because like to protect myself.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until then, like having that moment where I was like, I'm a child of God, baby. He didn't put me on this earth to suffer. I didn't come here. I didn't, like, when the initial conversation was, and I like had like that moment where I was like, God, help me remember what was our initial conversation as to what is my purpose to come down here. So like, yeah, having that and cultivating that relationship and just listening and like staying still in the quiet. I promise you, like sometimes like God comes to you when you sit with yourself. I think oftentimes like we are so quick to like have so many distractions, whether it be work, drugs, sex, friends, or like other external things. But like when you sit with yourself, as excruciating as it might be in the beginning, the longer you sit in it and the deeper you go within yourself, you'll find like that you'll find yourself, you'll find him again. You know what I'm saying? And then you can connect back to your original purpose, like 100%. What it was, like why did you come here? So like it's beautiful, like I didn't know that.
Yeah,
girly, like there's so many other things that we have, like a lot of things we have in common.
We do.
Yeah.
And I always felt honestly that it was always just like a temporary thing, you know, like it was like a distraction.
A Band-Aid.
Yeah, because it's like after you do get hurt and you're in that place of solitude, you know, I have found the best remedy for that was to have a deeper understanding of my connection to God, because everything else is just a little bit of a distraction. It was a distraction for me. Yeah. It was to avoid dealing with the feelings. And how are you supposed to grow as an adult if you don't deal with all your emotions? And you can't strengthen your spirit by avoiding, you know, the spiritual hurdles that you were going to have, you know? And I also had to learn spiritual discipline, because there was a little bit part of me that was like out of control. Like,
oh, yeah.
Yeah. It was like I had so much access and I had a lot of popularity and all that was great. And so that in and of itself was a big distraction, you know, to take me away further from who I am. Outside of that, before that, you know what I'm saying? And that period of time, like COVID really was a blessing in disguise for me, because it just turned everything off, you know, and I was able to really come back down to like what truly matters. And so now in my life now, I do chase my bag, of course, because I've learned how to hustle. COVID taught me how to hustle.
Baby, I've
100%. But
been on my own since I'm a kid.
Yeah, so exactly. So for me, it's like I'm way less egotistical now than I was before, because I felt like, well, I've done all this successful stuff in my career, so I'm supposed to have like this fabulous life. And I did not know how to go about achieving that. And I'm happy that now after COVID taught me how to hustle and truly how to network. And now I have God in my life again. So now it's like, you know, there's this feeling of, I don't want to go back to like the temporary Band-Aids, you know, anymore. Like I want to keep my connection to God, you know, as clear and strong as possible, because this world will like distract you, you know, and then you'll start, if you're not educated enough, you'll start to believe that like, that's all that life has to offer. And it's like, imagine if society was completely gone and we're like living in the wilderness, you know. I think that that's when you really see what truly matters, you know, like everything else, like clothes, jewelry, whatever, success, it's just like, it should come secondary or even third, you know, to family and God.
Yeah, 100%. Like for me, like, there's something I want to kind of like, being like, like having that relationship, like having the relationship that I have with the Creator now. Everything, like, I find myself like a lot more so comfortable in. If I'm gonna be honest with you, girl, like a big part of even like agreeing to doing this, like the biggest, like I haven't told you this. This is like for like I'm being like really vulnerable. I'm really trying to like,
please do,
like you peel back some of those layers so that people, one, so like give everybody a chance to actually get to know me, like the girl, you know.
Yeah.
So like a big fear that I had to get over was the fear of success.
Really?
Yeah.
Why were you afraid of success?
Because I was scared of not so much, not like this has been something working up now to this moment where it was like my biggest fear was getting to the top and being alone. And that is what stopped me from chasing a lot of things that like I know would get me like a lot further, faster, because I was scared. I was like, damn, like if I know I'm gonna make it. I know I have it in me to make it. I'm scared of once I get to the top that I'm gonna be alone. And then having that, like having one of those, this was like a prayer, like before I go to bed, I was like, that's like my time to pray and stuff like that. I go outside and like on my porch and I like think through my day with my like cup of like cafecito con leche, and I'm like unwinding and I'm like,
con fuego.
yeah, there you go, babe. Like, and I'm having like reviewing everything like with him, and I'm like talking to him, like I'm like, damn, like I'm like, have I really been alone? Like, no. And then I'm like, no. And then now, like, I look around and then I didn't have, like, my family, like, I wouldn't say that they were horrible, but they weren't who I would have wanted them to be. But I feel like it was what it is just so that I can get to where I'm at now. Yeah. But finding, like, God has put so many, like, awesome people in my life. Like, my chosen family, like, I cannot even, so many people, like, here in, like, the Miami drag scene, I know that we have such a bad rap of like being like so cutthroat or being this, and I feel like a bigger testament to that is because of the fact that we are Hispanic. So the majority of people in Miami are Latino, like, or child of immigrants or stuff like that. So like you're dealing with a lot of trauma or a lot of like survival. A lot of people down here are in survival mode and they can't see themselves breaking out of that to the point where they can see themselves thriving. They can see themselves like doing something else outside of like for me as a trans woman, like outside of drag or outside. They can't see themselves outside of drag or outside of escorting or outside of like a subscriber or whatever, like, and to get to the point to where there's more for us. A lot of times like people don't see that because like they're so stuck in survival mode. But the people here in Miami, like the House of Dion, the House of Lords, Price, like the Ivies, like, you know, like they've all like put a grain of salt to get me here. My house, the House of Dion, like I hope I said, you know, like I'm like those are my girls. Like Athena, like I was almost homeless. Like I had a bunk waiting for me at Camila's house. She took me into like one of her properties. Like she's my landlord. She's my drag mother. Like she saved me. So like that was something that my own family didn't do when I was at that point. You know, they were like, oh, figure it out. Yeah. So it's things like that where like, baby, I have felt God's love and his protection in my life. Yeah. Had it not been like either I figured it out on my own or he put me in a situation or aligned me with someone that could help me or could help me see things differently. Like, so that for me, like, girl,
you know,
there's nothing else that I can say besides that. Like, it's like, yeah. I was so scared of being alone. I was so scared of being alone. I was so scared of like, that's why I found myself in that relationship with my ex because like a long time, that little kid was screaming, like screaming, like save me. Like listen to me, talk to me, like, yeah. You know, so like I found myself in my relationship with my ex more so than anything because I was so tired of like having to protect myself and having to fight and how everything was tooth and nail and everything was such a struggle that like I found shelter in him, even though the relationship was like crazy fucking toxic. Yeah. Like really toxic. Like all of the, like, that's what I'm saying. Like so many girls, like they want to be with like a rich dude, all of this, like all of my girls that I've talked to that like, they say they want that. Girl, you have no idea what that comes with. Like, and so it wasn't until I was like, why are you really here? Like, why are you in this situation? You're worth so much more. This isn't what you thought of when you were a little kid. Like what you were dreaming about when you were like lip syncing to freaking like little Ricky Martin songs or like Britney songs, Mariah Carey, like dancing around when you were just a little kid and you were happy. Yeah. Like this isn't what you wanted. So I found myself in that relationship wanting him to save me so bad. Where like where it wasn't until I finally found I found God, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I want more. Yeah, my life was fierce, babe. Like, I didn't have a care in the world. He took care of everything, but the price was chipping away at my soul one day at a time, and it got to the point that I looked at myself in the mirror. I didn't know who I was anymore. You know, so like, I was like, everything that I'm so scared of is like all of my dreams are on the other side of fear. And then coming to God and having like, help me, I surrender. Yeah. And I'm here and I'm thriving. If I can go back in time and talk to that little Karolina and tell her, baby, look at me. Like, this is our life. Like, we're thriving. We're doing so, like, the strength that I find inside myself. That's why for me, like, it's not that I'm hurt or I'm bitter or I'm jaded. Like, I'm so healed that, like, I used to be so scared of being alone that I would keep anyone in my company just to say that I had someone there. And now I love my boundaries. I love my space. I love my own company. I take myself out on dates. I'm not waiting for my man to take me out to freaking Morton's. Amen. I go and I do it by myself, or like all of these things, like the relationship that I've cultivated with myself and coming back into myself. I wouldn't be here without God. Yeah. Like, and my relationship with him. You touched on something that I think is really interesting, and that's like the reputation of the community. And I really want to open this up because I don't think anyone has talked about this, but I personally don't like it when queer people want to like embody like the Antichrist or devil stuff. I'm just like, dude, thank you. What is the thing? Like, why does everyone have to fall into what, you know, people already demonize us and say that we're the devil. On purpose. It's like defiant. To be like in your face, what you said last episode. And it's fully that. I just feel like, annoying. Guys, we're so much more creative. Like, stop giving them fuel to tell us that we are demonic by doing all this demonic stuff. Like, do you even know that is making it worse for us? Yeah, I agree 100%. Yeah. For me, like, I want to bring this up in conversation and see what you think. Excuse me. Okay. I find this is my take on why it is that, I felt like a lot of the people in the comments, like the last episode, kind of had like a feeling of like they were feeling away as far as like how where I stand. I'm trying to articulate this as best as I can without getting savage, without getting. What was it? What topic is it about? I think that the fact that I'm so Blair White about the situation, it makes it like rubs people a lot the wrong way. And about for me, it comes to the fact of like, I don't see us as women. We will never be that in my eyes. We're not. So like for me, we're not. I'm sorry. Yikes. Like we're not. Oh my God. Then that's like for me, I find a lot of the girls, at least from my experience, what I've seen. Yes, there are some few cases, like unique people. That's not always like. The exception to the rule doesn't escape. Like, two things can be true at the same time. Like, is what I'm trying to. Well, I don't think we'll ever be female. We'll never be female. But I think that we can definitely be women. We're okay. That's how I. Yes. I'm not like delusional. Like, I don't know the difference. Like, I'm not one of those like weirdos. I will never be female. And excuse me for calling anyone a weirdo, but I've just seen some very weird things. We've seen some things that I'm like, girl, like, you're fucking delusional. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm sorry, girl. You're delusional. Yeah, I mean, like, for me, like, for like what I'm trying to get at. Okay. Those cases. All right. So let me like, USA. It's more so of like the fact that I am so Blair White about the situation. In a way, I'm honestly like, I look at my life compared to some of these girls that give me shit for it, and I'm like, girl, I don't want to be you. I don't want to be you. You know, like, I compare my life, everything that like where I'm at, where you're at. Yeah, you might be further along, but let's look at your quality of life. Like, what does your spirit look like? Like, what are you like around you? Like, what manifests around you? So like, that's more important to me than if I look super possible or if I'm this or that or whatever. I don't care about that. Yeah. Like, for me, like, the way I find it is, this is how I feel. And I know that there might be a couple other like T-girls out there that probably feel the same way, that are like religious, like that do identify as Christian, that have these values instilled in them. The main reason why I'm so against the bottom surgery, and why in the first episode I was so adamant on saying that I don't believe kids should be transitioning or all of these things, is that at the end of the day, my is my connection to God. Oh, don't say that. That's what I was like. No cussing. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, my that is my connection to God.
Okay.
Everything else, like I was born a feminine, like I was born male body, whatever you want to say. My energy, my soul is feminine. So it made sense for me to transition for me. So like that's where I didn't feel like super dysphoric. I didn't feel like I felt like, oh my God, like I don't like being a dude. I was like, dude, I was super popular in high school. I was a really cool, like I was a cool dude. Like I never had none of those problems. Like I've navigated life like as a trans woman successfully, and I did as a gay man. Like I had an amazing career, all of these things. Like I was doing fine. So, but for me, what I say is that the day that I like. Everything that I've done has been an enhancement to what I already have. Like my is the one thing that I will never touch. Like that is like that for me is like when I die and I go up and I look at God, like, what did you do? Mm-hmm. Like that's like my thing, like for me, where like I don't agree with that surgery, because for me in my mind, I look at that surgery, to each his own. Every girl gets it, you know. Like if it's something that really, really like is triggering your mental health,
it's very personal.
It's very personal. It's case to case, and I get that. But for me, you're asking me what I think. I think that in my experience, a lot of the girls that I've seen that have gotten that surgery done end up batshit crazy. For the most part, they end up, there's a lot of environmental factors. There's if they're in sex work, if they do drugs, if this or this and that and the third. But like for the most part, a lot of the girls that I have met, and they're Looney Tunes.
Can I speak to that before we switch gears? Let me speak to that.
So it's like for me, I don't want to.
Let me speak to that. So you don't believe in bottom surgery?
I don't. Because for me, in my mind, no matter if you're still trans to me.
Okay.
You can be like I say, you're silk chiffon, and you have a. In my eyes, I'm sorry. You have you got the plasty done. You got bottom surgery. You got SRS. Okay. You're still trans, babe. So that doesn't not make you female.
Here's my take.
You're still a trans woman.
Okay. Here's my take. Are you ready?
Yes.
We can't talk over each other.
No, we're not. We
want to respect our viewers.
Yes.
We love you guys.
We love you guys.
So first things first is very personal, right? Secondly, I want to speak to like the cuckoo of it all.
Okay.
I have had bottom surgery, right? And I respect the girls that get it or don't. The reason why I got my bottom surgery was because I was at a point in my transition where I felt like it made sense. Because for a long time, I wasn't thinking about that. I was like, that's not really an option for me, because I didn't think that it was actually possible. Like I know some girls that have gotten it, but it was like the unknown topic of the community. It's like every trans girl that I knew at the time hadn't gotten it and didn't want to. So it really wasn't a part of like my goals, you know, because I didn't think it was real. Like I was like, maybe she got it. What does it look like? I don't even know. It was just the unspoken topic, right? So when I got taboo. Yeah, like when I got to the part in my transition where it's what I actually wanted in my heart, and I was like, you know what, this makes sense to me in my life. So I did my research, right? And I found that there was options. There's some girls that get an orchiectomy, which is just removing the testes, removing the cherries, and that's something that will help you just. You take less hormones, take less medication, and you can actually let your body sort of breathe for a little bit, because the hormones in and of itself is going to have a chemical change and a reaction to your emotions, to the way you respond to stimuli. Once you do have bottom surgery, there is something that changes in your brain. First of all, we all start off as female in the womb. And it's with the influx of testosterone or estrogen to where, either the ovaries drop into testes or they stay, it's either you're an innie or an outie, you know what I'm saying? And that's, usually what happens. But we all start off as female.
I didn't know that.
So basically there's a sensory switch up that happens in your brain, in your pituitary gland. And when you have bottom surgery, whether it be an orchiectomy or a full gender reassignment, your mental and your emotional and the way that you feel about things, it does change. And some girls don't give themselves enough time to let those changes settle in. Maybe get a therapist. Like, why does this trigger me when it didn't before? Did I make a big mistake? Did I do something in my surgery, or whatever that I shouldn't have done? Is it God? Is it like, oh my gosh, and they start to freak out. And unfortunately, there's not a lot of resources known to the community that we're able to seek those resources. It always comes down to alcohol, sex work, and drugs.
Yeah, baby.
And so that gets twisted into other things. And then when the girls are not taking care of their body, or the boys, it can open the door to, having not good sexual hygiene, which can lead to other things and other traumatizing situations. So, transition is very personal. Your body is very sensitive. You have to give yourself time to heal. You have to be very much grounded in a sense of, what am I experiencing? What are my emotions? Can I seek help? Can I call a therapist? Do I go to the free clinic and ask for assistance if I need it? You can't let your ego, your pride get in the way, and that's why a lot of like the vanity, I feel, is a gift and a curse, because you could be beautiful and then you can get lost in that ego of being like the most beautiful girl in the whole room.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I've seen.
And so, so my thing is, for me personally, I took the time I saw a therapist. I went through all the motions, because I wasn't just dealing with my bottom surgery. I was also dealing with the divorce. I was also dealing with the fact that I didn't have a higher power to lean in on. I didn't, there was a lot of different things going on in my life, but I was, grown enough to be like, girl, I got to get it together, girl. Cause like, I don't want to be, out here representing a whole community and not having my stuff together,
Yeah.
And it works, it works for me, but I also can admit that we're never going to know until the day that we cross over to the other side, what mistakes we made and whatever, what have you. We can sit here and speculate, and we could point fingers as to who's right and who's wrong all day long till we're blue in the face, but that's not really going to be helping anyone. So for me, I choose to have faith in the fact that I do have a destiny, and I do have, no matter what, there's nothing that I can do that will ever take the love away from my creator. And that's what I choose to lean in on, whether it was me getting a bottom surgery that maybe might get someone in heaven upset at me, I will take responsibility, but I know for a fact, and the Christian faith has, led me to understand and believe that there's nothing that I can do that will ever take God's love away from me, and I love the fact that,
Amen.
Yeah, like Christianity called to me at a time that it's like I felt like God was calling to me at a time that I really needed him the most. You know what I'm saying? And
that's where I'm at right now.
Everything happens for a reason. And I'm very happy. I'm happy with my life. I'm happy with my quality of life. I'm happy with my relationship. My family loves me. So now it's to continue on and to walk the path of my destiny and not get so hung up on what could be, what could, whatever, what could I have done in the past or whatever, because all of that stuff is just a distraction. It's just going to block me from actually living out my purpose.
Yeah. 100%.
And so whether you get bottom surgery or not, it's a very personal thing. And I respect you for what you believe. And I know you respect me for what I believe.
Yeah, Mom, of course I do. I love you. Like, I mean, I'll Pitbull. I'll Rumble the kid for you, bro. Like, I don't play about you.
Well, but I do have anything else to add? Because I wanted to switch gears.
No, there's something I wanted to, another thing I wanted to bring up in conversation for you. Mm-hmm. Okay, this is, with everything that I said, I do want to also, like I said, I'm a very strong believer of two things can be true at the same time. So with everything that I said, I do also want to try to play devil's advocate and say...
Not the devil.
There you go. I rebuke you in the name of Jesus.
Okay, amen.
There you go. All right, for me, when Christians do talk about like where trans falls into like the conversations about it, or like when they try to like create like, I guess like the metaphysical component of trans people, why are they here? Why are we here? And stuff like, so I find that, and then like gay people, lesbian, like homosexuality, transgenderism, like all of these things, like when Christians do bring it up in conversation, like this is how I kind of like, where they start asking me questions as far as like, what do you think? This is what I say. I'm like, okay, I believe God to be the end and the beginning. Can we agree on that? Mm-hmm. All right. So for me, like God is everything and nothing at the same time. So for me, in my mind, I look at male and female as two polarities and two ends of a spectrum. Mm-hmm. Where I find as me, as a trans person, as a trans woman, mm-hmm. I fall somewhere in between in the middle. Okay. So like for me, that's why I say where everything else about me is an enhancement to what is an enhancement. So like me going and getting my boobs done, that's an enhancement to what, to bring out that much more of my feminine energy that's already dormant inside of me, that's already in me. So like I say that male and female is two ends of a spectrum, and then there's still in between that. Because I've seen straight cisgendered women that are a powerhouse and they're a bulldozer and they're not lesbian. And I've seen straight men that are very nurturing and very soft and very and they usually almost always, from what I've seen it growing up as a kid in my family, ends up with that super dominant, super like aggressive chick. So I feel like for me, like I find God is so, everything is so perfect to the point where like I love watching how masculine and feminine energy manifests in everyone. Because just for me, like even us as trans people, we are we're the literal, and we're the personification of that, of like we're masculine and feminine at the same time, or all of these things, and how they intertwine. So for me, I don't think like to say that we're an abomination, or to say that like God made everything perfect. Why, like in my soul, like in my spirit, like I know it to be true, that because I was having that same question. I'm like, am I gonna do something like against like, you know what I'm saying? Because I grew up in like Santeria. I grew up watching all of these things. That it was a super macho religion. It was very like machismo. It was all of these things.
Wow. So
then like deconstructing all of this and really getting closer to God, I knew it in my soul that like my spirit is feminine. Like men that I've dated and stuff like that, even at the time when I was like presenting as a gay man, the men that I would date were saying, I don't see you as like, I get that you're a dude, but you make me feel like I see you as a girl.
Yeah, me too.
Like, I don't see you like that. Like, that's not like what registers when I interact with you. So for me, I find it like very, I want to say disheartening. I'm grasping at straws to get a word, but for lack of a better word, I find it very like, it sucks that like, why can't you have a little bit of like empathy, or like a little bit more nuance, or look at it from abstract and zoom out to where like to see the bigger picture. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we're not an abomination. Like we're here on this earth. I know in my heart to be true that God knew.
And we've been here.
And we've been here. Like, we're dual-spirited people. Like, you go to, like, other cultures where trans people, like, the people take, like, they take their babies to get blessed by a trans person. Trans people are looked to be, like, as a priest, or all of these things, because we're so ethereal. Because of the fact that we have, like, this, like, we have a stronger, I wouldn't say a stronger connection, that's, like, but just, we're such an anomaly to where, like, you see that, like, everything, like, we're created by God. Like, I wouldn't sit here and say like I understand there's free will and we did make this decision, but I know it true to be in my heart that God knew that I was going to be trans. If he knows how many hairs I have on my head, like how did he not know that in my soul that this wasn't something that I was gonna?
Well, Christian people can say, well, they can say, okay, like, but it was your free choice to act on it, you know. And the way that I feel about Christian influencers that, you know, literally can build their entire platform on anti-LGBT rhetoric. I have a big bone to pick with all of you, because how dare you call yourself a Christian and spread such, you know, like such negative,
and disdain, and
like
disdain
towards a
and
group
hate.
of people. Your job here is to spread the gospel. Let's get back to textbook. Your job is to spread the gospel and pray for people. Why aren't these people praying for people that they believe to be demonic or demonically influenced or an abomination or whatever? Why don't you use your platform? Because first of all, I'm pretty sure that you're not supposed to make an idol of yourself, and being an influencer, you're kind of making an idol of yourself. Okay. That's first thing. Secondly, like, don't use a religion as, you know, agency to spread more hatred and to spread more like bad vibes. That's not what Jesus would have done.
Amen, baby.
You know?
Yeah.
Pray for people. Why don't you lead? Why don't you get your likes up? People are so thirsty for likes. People are so thirsty for that hit of dopamine, you know, because to feel like they're important.
They need to do the healing.
Like that for me, that sets me off every time.
Me too.
You know, it's like you can as a Christian say, this is demonic. This is, I'm going to pray for you. Let's lead in a prayer to help these people to see the light or to get out of that type of spirit that's like defiant or wanting to, prove a point or be angry at the world for, whatever it is that would make them want to personify something that is dark or whatever. Bring them to the light, do something, end it on a positive. It's always like, oh, we're so sick of this demonic stuff and these people are so bad and blah, 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 blah. And then it's like the hundreds of thousands of likes go up. And it's like, I just disagree with that. It's like, that's not what I believe should be happening.
That's not God, baby.
No, I don't know what that is.
For me, I'm going to tell you this. Look, okay. I don't like going to church per se.
What kind of church?
In general, I mean, maybe like, yeah, like I like getting that's something I like. Yeah, like there's certain things I would rather talk to you like off camera, like yeah, we're like when on our way back home. But like for me, like I don't like about organized religion is I'm not there for you. Like judgment, like the judgment and all of that, like where you think that you're on this high horse, or that like you're like that you have this like one way ticket straight to heaven. And then you're over here worrying about whatever it is that I'm saying, or like you're an abomination because you're trans. But if we go back into the text, like there's so many things that are deemed an abomination that you do it on a day to day. Like women are not supposed to wear pants. You know that? So yeah, exactly. So like they pick and choose things in the Bible to fuel their hate, or to give an excuse to why this is okay or that's not okay or this or that. Where like for me, like for a really long time, a big reason why I was like fighting so much of like was because I felt like organized religion was a way of controlling people. Because like, how is it like, especially in the Catholic religion, where like you give like a diezmo, so like you giving a diezmo to like the priest or the church is gonna guarantee your entrance into heaven. Like I never understood that, like stuff like that, like so like you're buying God, like isn't God supposed to be like this like unconditional love, like power source, all of these things, like you can't buy, like money that's not gonna mean anything. So like it's certain things like that, like as controversial as what I just said, like whatever, I mean it is what it is, I said it, like I stand behind it. I find that like a lot of the people in the church, like the more and more I've developed like my relationship with God, or certain things that I've had questions, or I've had certain things like either he sent someone that'll give me the message, or I'll see it, or like I feel the sense of discernment where like I can, the thought is planted in my head, and I feel, and then the difference where I feel like where like intuition, all of these things are real, discernment is real, like it comes with the way I know it to like people can say, oh, but how do you know that that's God? The way I know is because it comes with a sense of peace. Yeah, that's how I know it's from God. Where like I have certain questions, or I have like certain feelings that I'm going through, and I look to them like for that guidance, and it's planted in my head, and it comes with a sense of peace. Yeah, that I know that this is coming from Him. So like it's just like totally, girl, like the picking and the choosing. I agree with you. Like I'm tired of that. Like, well, this brings me to our last and final topic. What's up? And this is the topic of Miss Candice Owens. She is very, very much so a Christian woman. And a lot of the times, I can respect her point of view. Yeah, there's certain things that she said that I'm like, sure. Okay, I can co-sign. For sure. But I also feel like she likes to embody this like ego of like being on a high horse sometimes. And baby, nobody's perfect and nobody's that innocent because, so let me tell you some backstory. Okay. So my beautiful boyfriend, my future husband, father of my kids one day, he went to a Catholic university. Okay. Christian university. I'm sorry. And he was telling me the background of everything. Girl, you gotta spill some tea. Hold on, let me get comfortable. There was like some kind of scandal, right? And like whatever. I'm not gonna name the university. It's not important. But he went to a Christian school and, he was telling me that, oh, I want to bring you to the school. I want you to see it. I'm like, yeah, of course. Cool. Like I went to his high school and like, whatever, he plays football and stuff. And so he was telling me like, oh, babe, like there was like this whole like situation with the president, that there was something that happened that even it happened here in Miami, actually. Like the president of the school with his wife was like having threesomes with like the waiter at the Fountain Blue.
And the guy decided to come forward. It was like this really crazy situation. And they made a special about it. And I was watching the special. Okay. And this must have happened in, I don't know, 2013 or something, or 2014. It was a long time ago.
Okay.
And apparently the CEO of the company, like he was married to this woman. He got with her when she was 13 years old. And it was a huge joke that they made on stage with Candice Owens. And I have the clip and I'm going to show you that it was basically like, oh yeah, well, like, you know, I was 13 and he was 18 when we got together, and Candice is there with her ring. I guess she just got engaged, and the lady was like, oh yeah, it's like 13 carats, like the same age that I was when I got with this guy. And they're just like laughing about it, like, ha ha ha, oh my God. So how dare you, Candice Owens, act like you're so perfect, right? But you want to sit up there and laugh and joke and get paid from a university, okay, that clearly was giving into not only the sex scandal, but also like the underage relationship that was happening. Where were your strong ideals and your strong opinions about women when you were sitting up on stage laughing about this? Because that's really what I want to know, because you ain't perfect, baby. And it's like you act like you are so godly and so perfect and so Christian, and you have all these strong ideals. You're so rigid about your view of trans women. Yeah, you're not perfect, baby. You're not perfect. So why have you not spoken up about that situation? Because a 13-year-old girl with an 18-year-old man, and is that okay in your world? In your rigid view about men and women and male and female, is that normal for you? Because that doesn't seem normal for me. But you surely sat up on that stage, laughed and joked about it, and walked away with a fat check to get paid to speak to students at the university. And it was a joke for everyone. It was okay back then, right? So maybe trans people are not acceptable, but pedophilia might be okay in your world, which is wild to me.
All right, Mom.
Ma'am. So I don't know. I have the clip. I want to show you.
Okay, let me see.
Okay.
While you're looking that up, like for me, it's a thing of like, that's another thing too that I have an issue with a lot of people that say that they're Christian, where like they have so much vitriol, disdain in their heart. So much vitriol, disdain in their heart, but yet towards the you know, trans people, gay people, but then in that very same breath are doing so many things in their own home that are a sin or aren't, like, I wouldn't say like morally correct or all of these things, but then let someone say that they're trans or they're gay, and then, oh my God, you're a sinner, oh, you're going to hell, or all of these things, but then they can't hold the mirror up to themselves.
When you guys met, some of our freshmen don't know this story.
Go on that story.
She was 13 and I was 18 when I met her.
So Candice, hey girls, let's take a look at the ring on Candice's finger, by the way.
I think it's 13 carats, the same age that you were making when you guys met.
Jackie grew up.
Wow. What an amazing example of American Christian values. Let's teach the kids that that's okay. Wild. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode.
Girl, I'm gagging.
Yeah, like I said, nobody's perfect, and maybe we can take some time to understand each other instead of sitting on our platforms, on our high horses, thinking that we're better than other people, especially small, marginalized communities who are already at risk. Okay. Yeah, I love you guys. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you for being vulnerable and opening up,
baby.
And speaking from your heart. I love you too. Miss Kaviar Dion.
Darling.
Okay. Carmen Carrera signing off. Happy holidays. God
Bye,
bless
guys.
you.
Love you.
Mwah. See you next time.